This is the SV08 from Sovol that everyone's been asking about. It's a 350 by 350 by nearly 350mm Core XY with a floating gantry that sort of resembles a Voron, but as we'll discuss, well, hold that thought. I'm predicting this will be one of the most wanted machines of 2024, and in this video I'm going to hopefully show you why. Let's go. So consumer Core XY printers really aren't that novel anymore. After of course Bambu Lab brought us their offering in 2022 and kicked everything off, who can't possibly name them lest be hounded in the comments for leaving them out, as if that's a crime. 2023 brought us what can only be described as a plethora of Core XY printers in all sizes. From the reasonably small Chidi X Smart to the reasonably enderish K1, or the KLP1 from Kingroon, or the Two Trees whatever it was, or the Flashforge whatever, to the K1 Max, I guess, which I think was the only one bigger than a Bambu Lab X1, unless you want to try your luck with a Flying Bear. Those seem okay actually, they're quite cheap. All of those though, they were the same design. None of those were the Voron design. You see, a standard commercial Core XY printer moves the bed and not the gantry. The Voron 2 moves the gantry and not the bed. How is this better? Good question. One thing that I can think is that this machine is huge though. I'm going to need a seriously large studio if I keep on reviewing printers this size. I don't know if you know how big a UK kitchen appliance like a fridge or washing machine is. I'll tell you, 60 cm on each side. Do you know how big the Voron is? Oh, hang on. Yes? Oh, why not? Okay, gotcha. So, I'm not allowed to call it a Voron. This is from a Voron. You can see what Sovol have needed to do to make this machine into a budget-friendly and affordable machine. Oh, by the way, if you want to see the price, I know it's been a contentious issue because Sovol didn't want to reveal the price until the 18th when it becomes available, but the price should be given on the 18th unless they reveal it sooner via the link in the description, so feel free to check that out just in case they've put the price there in the meantime. But the point is, this is not a Voron. This is what you get if you sit an engineer down with all the CAD information and technical diagrams for a Voron and you say, I want you to make a manufacturable version of that for half the price of the parts, but it still has to look like a Voron. It's still the basic design, it's still the same kinematics give or take, but that is pretty much where it ends. Not, I might add, that there's anything wrong with that, it's just a matter of setting realistic expectations. I asked when I was making this review for you to give me some questions, and you all gave me a ton of questions, and a lot of them would be in a normal review, so let's go through a few now. I'll remove people's names as I don't know who wants to be famous or not. I never quite know whether to remove names or not, so if you want some credit for your question, let me know and I'll stick it in the description or something. I don't have any problem with that. So, first up, TPU performance. Well, it works fine on 95A, but I did have to make a profile for it. This model you see here is for Smurf 2024, and I'll put more info about that in the description, so go and have a look. It's a collaborative thing, and anyone can join in, and I imagine it's going to be huge. I mean, physically huge. I'm not really sure what E3D are going to do with it. If it ends up being like 10 meters by 10 meters, maybe you should help out to try and make that happen, and that could be interesting. I'll try lower shore hardness TPUs later. The profile I used for this 95A will be useful for anyone buying the printer. I'll make it available on my Patreon. There's no default profile yet for TPU on Orca Slicer, so I'm sure it will be useful. More information on the motherboard. Sure, it seems to be a MKS board, but MKS makes so many boards that doesn't really tell you anything anymore. It would appear to have the same or similar chipset as the Big Tree Tech Pi, so that's not bad. Is all the stuff Nero 3D mentioned valid? Well, my opinion on that is, how much do you need to spend to make it print ABS? Well, nothing. You could tape some cardboard around it and it would print ABS, but there is an enclosure coming, an official one, so you can see there's screw holes in the actual aluminium frame ready for that. I've seen a diagram, a render of it, but I'm not sure if I can share that. It is coming. I also don't have a final price because one doesn't exist yet, but the proposed kind of maybe price seems quite reasonable, so you'll probably end up buying that if you are buying this machine and want it to be enclosed. check the HDMI port and show it working. This is quite funny. I have a touchscreen HDMI from like Raspberry Pi and stuff, and if you plug it in, I can only describe this as half a clipper screen. It works, but it doesn't really work. There's an official touchscreen coming, so I imagine that's why that does that, and I think maybe they might be making that work in firmware at some point, I guess, because I presume the official touchscreen will do the same thing. We'll have to see. Will it reach 345mm for Z with an enclosure? This is a concern about the top of the tool head going outside of the frame, which means that when you put an enclosure around it, you can't get the full height. Let's have a look. Why should you buy this when the world is moving to multicolour and multi-head printers? Well, one, I don't think multi-head is a thing. I wish it was, but unless you buy a Prusa XL right now, then multi-head is not a thing, really, unless you build it yourself. Neither of those options are particularly useful for the average consumer because they're too expensive. Two, I have been told there's a colour add-on for the SV08 coming, and this will, as far as I'm aware, be something similar to a kind of AMS style add-on. I know as much as you do. They announced this on their Discord, I think. We'll have to wait and see for that. But yes, that's why you should buy this when the world is moving to multicolour, because this is also going to be multicolour if you want it to be. A few questions came up about modability and upgradability, and quite rightly. The hot end of the machine comes off like this. And the frame is aluminium, but it doesn't have much in terms of mounting points because it's a custom extrusion rather than standard 2020 or whatever. You can drill into it, I guess, or you can clamp things onto it. It's sort of fairly open, so I guess you could put things around it. Also, to address the questions about the nozzle, it's the same nozzle from the Comgro T300, and I think a lot of the extruder is the same too. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of custom nozzles when they're customized to this extent, because it means that you're only really going to be able to buy this from Sovol themselves. I suspect a lot of people are just going to change the hot end, to be honest. This is the inside of the hot end, by the way, and yes, that cowling is magnetic, so you can just pull it off. Guess that's useful. So I think it's time to talk about what I see as the one real problem this machine has right now, and it's solvable, but you will run into it pretty soon out of the box, and that is the temperature sensitivity of the probe. I'm going to do a whole episode on probes, but inductive probes in particular drift with temperature. They're not the only ones that do that, but this is a known phenomenon. This means that if you start the machine from cold, it will have a Z offset to probe differential that's perhaps half a layer height or more different from starting it from a previous print. The solution is, well, there's three solutions. The first solution is a non-solution, which is to always start it from cold. The second solution is to change the start print macro to add in a heat soak delay to allow the probe to warm up to a consistent temperature each time. The third and preferred solution would be to use the sensor at the back before each print. I haven't had any time to try the second one because it requires coding in Clipper, but I'm sure someone in the community will do it if I don't do it first. And if you're wondering why this is more of a problem on this particular machine rather than say the SV06 or SV07 or a lot of other machines that use inductive probes, well, first of all, it was a problem on Prusa's. It goes back that far. Second of all, this is a mains bed and it just heats up so much faster than a normal one, and that doesn't give the probe enough time to balance, and that's why it looks quite extreme on this machine. It's unfortunate that a result of something like really fast bed heat up is causing something else to manifest that you probably wouldn't have noticed otherwise. And in fact, these inductive probes vary between brands and perhaps even between probes, but the idea of heat soaking in the community isn't alien, and it's partly because of other things that expand with heat too on these machines, like pretty much everything, and 5 minutes-ish seems to be enough for the probe. If you're not in a rush, you can go to 10 minutes and get even better results. There is a full video coming up on this, as I said. Summary time. The SV08 is actually nothing like any commercial machine that we've seen yet before, in my opinion. If you like the Voron looks, or the style, or the size, but you don't want to build a Voron, then this is probably perfect. It's also one of the first, if not potentially the first Core XY that maybe is legitimately a gateway drug to modding machines, because it's open and it's relatively moddable. If you're looking at a K1 Max or the new K2 Plus, but you're thinking, maybe I want to mod that, or maybe I want something that I can fix myself easily when it breaks down, then this printer is likely to hit the spot. It's also cheap for what you get. It's very cheap. So I think that for all these reasons combined, this will be a machine that really ticks enough boxes for enough people that it will A, sell out fast initially, and B, probably end up being one of the most popular machines this year. I might be wrong on both counts, but we'll see. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, and remember that if you do plan to buy the machine, then using my links below to do so does get me a small commission, which enables me to make videos like this. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.